अस्सलाम वालेकुम एवरीवन। आई होप यू आर फाइन एंड डूइंग गुड। आज हम CSS 2022 के पेपर में आने वाले टॉपिक नंबर 1 की आउटलाइन और इस टॉपिक की डिस्कशन करेंगे। द टॉपिक वाज एन एनालिसिस ऑफ द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन ऑफ मार्केट्स। तो सबसे पहले वी वुड लाइक टू क्रैक द टॉपिक एंड नो कि एग्जैक्टली टॉपिक था क्या और इसका मीनिंग क्या है और इसको हमने आगे लेकर कैसे चलना है। फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल हमें ये देखना था कि उसने क्योंकि हमें एनालिसिस का कहा हुआ है, तो एनालिसिस के अंदर हम जो है वो दोनों साइड्स डिस्कस करते हैं कि इसके बेनिफिट्स क्या हैं और इसके ड्रॉबैक्स क्या हैं। एंड देन हम इसके एंड के ऊपर इसके फ्यूचर इम्प्लीकेशंस के साथ कंक्लूजन देके इसको कंप्लीट करते हैं। सो व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट, तो सबसे पहले हमें इस चीज़ को देखने की ज़रूरत है कि ग्लोबलाइजेशन ऑफ मार्केट्स होता क्या है, क्योंकि हमने उसी का एनालिसिस इसके अंदर प्रेजेंट करना था। So globalization of markets is basically the interconnectedness and integration of economies. It is about the integration of industries and the markets on the global scale. जहाँ पर आपकी जो किसी भी किस्म की सर्विसेज इंडस्ट्रीज हैं, आपकी प्रोडक्शन हो रही है या फिर आपकी किसी भी तरह की मार्केट्स हैं, बी दोज दी कमोडिटीज मार्केट्स, दी इकोनॉमिक मार्केट्स और द सर्विसेज मार्केट्स, they are highly integrated and they are operating on the global scale. So basically, it involves the increasing interdependence of the countries through the exchange of the goods, services, information, and ideas across the national borders. And this phenomenon is driven by the various factors that includes the advances in technology, communication, transportation, and international trade agreements. So there are certain arrangements through which this whole phenomena is governed, and that is also being discussed in this essay as well. अब अगर हम ग्लोबलाइज्ड मार्केट्स की बात करें, तो हमें ये पता है कि ये इंटरनेशनल स्केल के ऊपर जो है वो ऑपरेट कर रहा होता है। ऑफ कोर्स इसके अंदर बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, और लेकिन एट द सेम टाइम इट इंक्लूड्स मैनी चैलेंजेस एज वेल। सो दोज कंपनीज दैट ऑफन डेवलप द स्ट्रेटजीज टू अडैप्ट देयर प्रोडक्ट्स, their marketing approaches, and the business operations to suit the diverse preferences and regulations of consumers and governments worldwide. They need to see that how basically they have to regulate their consumers, and how the governments they have to act in order to facilitate the businesses on the global scale. So this concept of globalization of the market reflects the idea that the economic activities, they are no longer confined within the borders of the individual nations. Rather, they are part of a very complex and interconnected global network. It is no more confined to the borders of a particular country. They have basically gone across the borders, and it has now started operating on the global scale. सो इसी चीज को आगे फर्दर करते हुए व्हेन वी मेक द आउटलाइन, तो सबसे पहले हम इसका इंट्रोडक्शन देंगे और इसकी थीसिस स्टेटमेंट बनाएंगे। नाउ द थीसिस स्टेटमेंट हैज टू बी वेरी वेरी कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव बट एट द सेम टाइम वेरी ब्रीफ। सो हमने इसको इस तरह से नटशेल के अंदर पुट करना है कि इट शुड बी गिविंग अ वेरी कंप्लीट पिक्चर, बट इट शुड नॉट बी वेरी extra, it shouldn't be very verbose. So the thesis statement for this particular essay outline is that in the contemporary world, the globalization of markets stands as a transformative force, intricately weaving together economies, societies, cultures on a global scale. This phenomena, driven by technological advancements, economic interdependence, and cultural exchange, not only presents unprecedented opportunities for market expansion and economic growth, but also poses challenges, including disparities, cultural homogenization, and environmental concerns. Now, this essay explores the historical evolution, the drivers, and the implications of the globalization of markets, how this whole concept has evolved, what were the factors which drive it, and what are the implications for the future, emphasizing its profound significance in shaping the interconnected and dynamic landscape of our modern globalized society. So, moving forward, first of all, we would see that in the essay outline after the thesis statement, we are going to define that what is the globalization of market actually means, what is the historical context of the evolution of globalization, how this whole thing evolved, and we would also explain and add the significance of the concept in the contemporary world. So, starting off with the outline after the thesis statement, first of all, we need to know the definition of the globalization of markets. As I already mentioned, that it basically refers to the interconnectedness and integration of the economies, industries, and markets on a global scale, where the people they are involved in the exchange of goods, services, information, and ideas across the national borders, not only confined to the borders of a particular country. Rather, it has gone across the borders, and it has advanced in so many areas that finally and ultimately it is operating on the global scale. So in the globalized markets, of course, the business they operate on the international scale. They seek the opportunities, they face the challenges as well, but they have to develop and adopt that type of strategies that basically facilitate their consumers and also the business operations to suit the diverse preferences and the regulations for the consumers and governments worldwide. So this concept of the globalization of markets reflects the idea that economic activities they are no longer confined with the borders of the individual nations. Rather, they are part of a complex and interconnected global network. And it has not evolved as just only a simple phenomena. Rather, it has an historical context, and evolution of the globalization spans several centuries, with the distinct phases that mark by technological, economic, and political developments that has its roots like in all these areas. While the roots of globalization can be traced back to the ancient trade routes and empires, where the modern era of globalization began to take the shape in the late 19th and 20th centuries. So, when we give a very brief overview, we see that there are different eras that this time has seen. So, first of all, there was the ancient trade routes. For example, they were like the Silk Route, and there were also the colonialism through which the Europe actually expanded itself into the Far Asia and also into the rest of the countries. Then there comes the late 19th and the early 20th century. This was the time period where the industrial revolution actually provided a very significant shift towards the mechanized production, transportation, the rise of the factory-based economies. Moreover, in the same century, the advent of the telecommunications like the telegraph and the later on the telephone, it revolutionized the long distance communication that connecting the markets and businesses across the continents. Later on, the same the same concept was further um, to the post World War II era, where there were different there were like different organizations and the different institutions which were developed. Where the Bretton Woods Institution was firstly developed, and then there were International Monetary Fund and also the World Bank after the World War II that aimed to stabilize international monetary systems and promote economic development. Where basically one institute established globally wanted to improve the economic situation of the different countries. Simply, we can say that the post-World War era also has seen the General Agreements on the Tariffs and the Trades (GATT), which was later on replaced by WTO, was basically formed to reduce the trade barriers and promote the free trade. And it was basically, of course, date back to the concept of economies of scale as well, and also the comparative advantage concept of the David Ricardo and Adam Smith. And then we see that the next era was the late 20th century era, where the information technology, multinational corporations, and the trade liberalizations, it expanded globally, and it established subsidiaries, it established the sister concerns, it established the different, dynamics of the exchange. For example, your currency exchanges, your debt exchanges, your financial transactions. So basically, this was the era which also exhibited the globalization of the markets. And moreover, leading towards the 21st century era, where there were the global financial integration in the form of the flow of the capital across the borders. There was also the outsourcing of the supply chain, where the assembly line and also the global supply chain, it became integral to the manufacturing and service industries, where the components produced in the various countries. And also the rise of emerging markets like the China and India, they emerged as a major players in the global economy, contributed to the shifts in the economic power. Then there comes the challenges and adjustments, of course, that made the globalization of market even more happening. Was the global financial crisis 2008 that revealed the vulnerabilities of the interconnected financial systems, that how it is having a record effect, how it is having a effect that is rippled across the different nations in the world. Similarly, the debates on the inequality, where the global north concept and global south concept emerged, where the core and periphery concept emerged, and globalization has been accompanied by the debates on the economic inequality both within and between the countries. That it is basically producing the inequalities between the developed world and the developing world. So this historical evolution of globalization reflects a dynamic interplay of the economic, technological, and political forces that is shaping the interconnected world we live in today. So from here we have taken an understanding that how this whole thing has evolved. So talking about the significance of the concept in the contemporary world, we have seen that we are highly economically interconnected. We no matter in which country we are living, in one way or the other, we are interconnected, and the things that are happening within one part of the world is of course having its effect in the other parts of the world as well. We also have the market expansion, the growth opportunities, where multinational companies are operating on the global scale. They're capitalizing on the potential for the increased sales and the profits. At the same time, the employment opportunities, they are also expanding. Moreover, we see that there are, of course, whenever there is any sort of development, it's going to have impact on the environment and sustainability of the environment. So there is also the issue of the pollution. There's also the issue of the climate change, the depletion of the natural resources, because as the world is coordinating, and the world is just interconnected through the different in different global platforms. So therefore it is just seen that natural resources, they are just depleting, and of course it is having an impact on the environment. So the challenges and disparities are also there. For example, your economic inequalities, the cultural homogenization, and also your social disparities. So these are all those challenges that are there with the benefits of globalization that is being shared on the global scale. And of course there are cultural exchange as well, where the traditions and the values, they are being shared, the ideas are being shared, the diversity is increasing, and of course there are like the population homogeneity that is also there. People, they are not only able to understand the differences that are existing, and also they're respecting the cultures of each other. Moreover, the political cooperation diplomacy, it is also increasing. We see that how the political cooperation and your diplomatic efforts among the different nations, it is working, it is necessitated. And you're also the trade agreements, environmental regulations, intellectual property rights that require the collaborative decision making, and international agreements. So we have, there are multiple repercussions, there are multiple things that are basically evolving. At the same time, we are seeing that there is skill transfer. The skill transfer के साथ साथ आपका जो labor transfer होता है, आपकी job opportunities increase होती हैं, where the workers, they are not only working nationally, but also they are getting the employment outside the countries. And this whole exchange of the labor is also providing you a very good edge for that labor as well, which is skilled, and for that also which is unskilled. So job opportunity, skill transfer is also there. Innovation and knowledge sharing bhi at the same time hoti hai. For example, if there's research that is happening in the one part of the country, is of course going to impact, and of course going to bring good to the other countries as well, which are lagging behind in the research and in the development. So when we talk about the what are the drivers of globalization of markets, of course the first thing that comes or first and the foremost thing that comes in the mindset is the technological advancement. Whenever there is the increased research and increase, you can say, whenever the technology it advances, it of course brings a lot of new blessings to the doors of the people. So it was basically the role of the internet and communication technologies that has derived the globalization of markets. The impacts of the transportation advancement was also there. Coming to the economic factors, it was the rise of the multinational corporations that have crossed the borders and expanded their business, and it has brought a lot of globalization of markets. Moreover, the free trade agreements and, and economic liberalization that has helped this globalization of markets to happen. Moreover, there is also cultural and social factors, where we see that the global media and entertainment also influences the globalization of markets, the changing consumer preference and the lifestyle also, where the people, they are preferring the imported goods and all other things. Of course, it also drives the globalization of markets. The globalization of markets has multiple benefits. Of course, it brings economic growth and efficiency, because the increased market access and the potential for the growth is there. And of course, when the products are made at a cheaper rates, they are sold at the cheaper rate. So the cost reduction is also there through the economies of scale. The concept of economies of scale that comes into play is basically that if at one point in time some particular product is being made in one part of the world at a cheaper cost, of course it is going to be sold at the cheaper cost, because their लेबर जो है वो सस्ता होगा, आपकी जो सर्विसेज होंगी वो सस्ती होंगी, आपके लिए ईजी है कि आप एक लार्ज स्केल के ऊपर एक चीज को इकोनॉमिकली प्रोड्यूस करें. सो दैट इज बेसिकली कॉल्ड द इकोनॉमीज ऑफ स्केल, जिसकी वजह से जब आपकी कोई भी चीज किसी भी दुनिया के कोने कोने के अंदर प्रोड्यूस हो रही है, लेकिन वो किसी कम कॉस्ट के ऊपर प्रोड्यूस हो रही है, तो अल्टीमेटली एंड फाइनली वो जहां पर जाकर सोल्ड होगी, वहां पे भी उसकी कॉस्ट जो वो कम ही होगी. It is not going to be sold at a higher price. Moreover, the cultural exchange and diversity is one of the benefits of globalization of markets, because cross cultural understanding होती है, tolerance develop होती है, एक दूसरे की आप पर्सपेक्टिव्स को समझते हैं, एक दूसरे के आप बिलीव्स को अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं, उसके वैल्यूज को अंडरस्टैंड करते हैं, रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, जिसकी वजह से आपकी जो डाइवर्स पर्सपेक्टिव्स होते हैं उनकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग डेवलप होती है, और बिजनेस के अंदर इट इज ऑफ कोर्स गोइंग टू हेल्प अ लॉट इन द इंटीग्रेशन ऑफ द पर्सपेक्टिव बिजनेसेस. अगर हम चैलेंजेस ऑफ ग्लोबलाइजेशन और मार्केट्स की बात करें, तो ऑफ कोर्स इट इज ब्रिंगिंग द इनइक्वालिटी एंड द डिस्पैरिटी. जिस तरह से ग्लोबल इनकम इनइक्वालिटीज एग्जिस्ट करते हैं, ग्लोबल नॉर्थ में कुछ है, ग्लोबल साउथ में कुछ है, आपके डेवलप्ड वर्ल्ड में कुछ है, डेवलपिंग वर्ल्ड के अंदर कुछ है. सिमिलर द डिस्प्लेसमेंट ऑफ लोकल इंडस्ट्रीज एंड वर्कर्स, जब भी आपके बाहर से आके कंपनीज यहाँ पर काम करती हैं, तो जो आपका लोकल इंडस्ट्री होती है वो इम्पैक्ट होती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू आर इम्पोर्टिंग, तो ऑफ कोर्स आपकी लोकल इंडस्ट्री जो वो इम्पैक्ट होगी. कल्चरल जो आपकी होमोजेनाइजेशन है, जिसके अंदर जो कंसर्न्स होते हैं अबाउट द लॉस ऑफ कल्चरल आइडेंटिटी. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, ब्रेक्सिट की एग्जाम्पल देखते हैं, जिसके अंदर द ब्रिटेन they have to exit from the European Union, for the reason being that the people, they were feeling the crisis of the identity. They felt that the foreigners, they are getting the more jobs, more opportunities, and the natives, they are being compromised. And same is the case with the Arab Spring. So standardization of the products and services की वजह से जो आप एक concept लेकर आते हैं, that is also impacting the cultural homogenization. And moreover, आपकी जो अगर हम कुछ केस स्टडीज की बात करें तो हमें नजर आता है कि किस तरह से जो आपकी सक्सेसफुल ग्लोबलाइजेशन की स्ट्रेटजीज हैं, उसके अंदर एप्पल लिंक आपके सामने, कोका कोला हमारे सामने, दैट दे हैव बेसिकली a very adaptive sort of attitude with their products to the local markets, and they are becoming a global brand as well. So based upon that, if we also see that what are the examples of the challenges and the failures, so we see that, for example, if some particular company is being owned by a particular group, maybe किसी point के अंदर आके, due to some reason that is to be not anymore apprised by the people. जैसे कि मैकडोनल्ड सर्टेन कंट्रीज के अंदर कल्चरल रेजिस्टेंस जो है वो फेस कर रहा है। करंटली जो हम लोगों ने इसराइल और पैलेस्टाइन के कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के अंदर देखा, दैट देयर वर मल्टीपल प्रोडक्ट्स ऑफ द इजराइल दैट वर बीइंग बैंड बाय द पीपल इन द डिफरेंट पार्ट्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड बिकॉज ऑफ द dehumanization that they were doing and the genocide that they were doing in the Palestine. Similarly, the global financial crisis and their impact on the markets. Whenever any crisis, any economic crisis is happening, of course, it's going to have a ripple effect in the global financial market as well. Moreover, we see that the future of the globalization of markets is, of course, very bright, because the technological advancements and their influence is having no limit. We are seeing that the robots are replacing the humans. There is the new era of the artificial intelligence and automation. The people, they are moving towards the AI based tools and the blockchains and their impact on the global market as well. So, of course, the future trends in the globalization of markets is seen in the context of the environmental sustainability and ethical considerations as well, where we need to know that there should be the green business practice and the corporate social responsibility should be there. There should be the balancing of economic growth with the environmental conservation, because आने वाली नस्लों को भी हमने जो है वो एक अच्छा environment देना है. They should be able to at least have a very safe environment for them. So whenever we are going to conclude our topic, we have to first of all give the recap of the key points. We have to the ongoing relevance and the future trajectory need to be contained for the globalization of markets topic, and also the final thoughts on the impact of globalization on the world economy and society is also need to be discussed in the end of the essay, that is in the conclusion. The last words on the topic are just simply that if we summarize the whole thing, we see that the significance of the globalization of markets in the contemporary world is multifaceted. It is impacting economies, cultures, and societies on the global scale. So as the world, it becomes increasingly interconnected, understanding and navigating the implications of globalization are essential for individuals, businesses, and policymakers alike. Therefore, we have concluded from this topic that it was not a difficult topic at all to attempt. It was an easy topic to attempt, given that you have good understanding that what actually the globalization of market means, how they are operating, what is the historical perspective, what are the future implications, what are the challenges that are being faced by it, and what the opportunities that it is bringing. I hope that it was a very comprehensive analysis of the globalization of markets, and I'm pretty sure it was helpful. I thank you all for your time and watching the video. Thank you so much.